On this episode of the John 1911 podcast, Nancy Pelosi's all like, what impeachment? Glock introduces everybody's most desired pistol, 22 rimfire. Pennsylvania decides to go after 80% lowers, and SIG is surplusing M17 pistols.
Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Danny, Marky, and Freeze, and this is episode 155 of the Three Amigos John 1911 podcast. So, Dan and I were just talking. Were you working last night, Freeze?
No, actually, last night I was off. I got off yesterday morning, which was like, I don't know, like a 10-day run. And actually I go back Sunday night. So I get a couple nights off before I get to start the insanity again.
I knew it was something. I didn't know how much you, I don't know. Because I know you've just been working like 10 straight days and longer generally. So
It's been crazy. After the first of the year, it will slow down. But until then, I'm just basically toast.
Okay. So Danny, so just so you are aware, Freeze and I did talk earlier this morning, and he was like, I'm destroyed. And I said, oh, don't worry about it. See, when it's all three of us, you don't have to do a lot of heavy lifting. So you and I will drag him across the finish line.
That we will.
So Danny, have you heard anything about the Glock 22 pistol that has come out, the rimfire that they've
No, to be honest with you, you remember I gave mine away. I do not like the Glock 22, and I haven't followed it if there is anything.
Yeah. Oh no, this is not a model 22. It's a 22 caliber.
Oh no, I have not. No, I have not.
So everybody, there was a bunch of Glock did this big lead up to this big announcement that they were going to come out with, and it's like, what are we going to do? What's it going to be? And everybody's got all their theories, and of course, every time one of the things they always mention or people mention is, well, Glock finally come out with a rifle with like an AR-15 or something, and so they came out with this Glock 19 size 22 rimfire gun, and everybody's like, oh no.
So everyone went from Glock AR rifle to a Glock 22 pistol.
Yeah. So
wow.
There's a bunch of other Glocks that the Glock kids, the Glock Mafia would like to see made. I don't know. It's probably not a rifle, but one of the things I always wonder is I used to work with a guy who I think he still works for Glock after he retired from the police department. He started working for Glock as one of their in-house trainer salespeople. And he told me in person that he has seen a 5.56 weapon from Glock. He's held it.
Okay. Let me chime in with my 2 cents on this. Now, everyone who follows us knows that I am not a Glock fan in the least bit. However, a Glock AR style rifle, big fucking deal. Who goddamn cares? Smith & Wesson makes them. Everyone fucking makes them. I mean, Joe Bob's Garage is making them. Who gives a shit? But in all fairness, a 22 rimfire Glock pistol actually is kind of exciting, because who doesn't like 22 target pistols?
We could always count on Mikey in the Wheaties commercial to throw us all a curveball. So actually, I agree with you, because I saw this on the internet and everybody was all pissed off. I guess, so it's a Glock 19 shaped gun, and apparently it only holds, it's a full-size gun with some kind of full-size magazine, but it only holds like 9 rounds or something.
So it's a single stack, the same way a Beretta or a Ruger or any other standard 22 pistol. Okay.
Well, yeah, what they've done, it's a full-size grip, but what they've done is it's a single stack, single column inside of a full-size magazine.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is an easier way to make it work.
But that's standard with about 99.9 percent of all your 22 rimfire handguns.
That is because it's difficult to have. You have it because those rounds have to roll. But anyway, I guess the point is, like, look, if I was carrying a Glock like I have in the past, you know, you never know. I may do it again in the future. I would be tickled to death if there was a factory Glock pistol, you know, to train with or to, you know, like you want to give it to your wife or your kids or just, I mean, I'd rather have a factory original than like some bullshit gun from like Wolf.
Well, I mean, yeah, look, I mean, in the armory right now, we have one, maybe two 22 caliber conversion 1911 kits.
Yeah, we got.
There's a Kimber one, and then I think there's another Mitchell or I don't know, some other aftermarket one. But the point is to have a factory original 22 caliber rimfire. Say we'll just say Model 19 Glock. It's not a Model 19, but
that's what it is.
Okay. Now that in itself, not being a Glock guy, I find that more exciting than say Glock coming out with an AR style rifle because who the fuck cares about an AR style rifle?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I don't think Glock will ever come out with an AR rifle. I think they played with it. Because I mean, like, look, Glock has a great reputation. Their guns work. You know, if they have any issues, they work through them. But let's be real from a product point of view with the Glocks. They've only made one gun their entire life.
Yes.
Like they've never proven that they can make anything other than basically the same gun. And like here's like let's say Glock does come out with an AR, which at this point I don't think they would. It's too saturated. But they didn't make it. It's gonna OEM parts from other people.
True.
I mean, you know,
truth is,
their gun.
Truth is, if Glock comes out with any type of an assault style rifle, it would probably be more of a Steyr AUG than an AR.
I don't know
Think about that.
What I'm thinking about is Glock itself. I'm sure the bean counters are pushing brand loyalty. So if you have a Glock 22 out there, people will flock to the Glock, and I'm sure that's what they're counting on. Bottom line.
Oh, sure. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, what's interesting is all these guys that are Glock fanboys, they don't really know how to run a business, and Glock is very smart in how they run their business, and they make more money, I bet, than just about anybody.
Hey, Glock,
especially profit margin.
Glock has been running on the Henry Ford business model for forever since they began, and it works.
It works. So, I mean, you know, congratulations to them. So I just thought that was interesting. I wanted to throw it out there because we hadn't addressed it, and it was like a big stink in the firearms media. It's like, yeah, whatever. Hey, Freeze, do you know, or Danny, if you've looked into it, I posted something on Facebook a couple days, or maybe yesterday. It's been a long couple days, about SIG is apparently surplusing out, I don't know if you call them Gen 1 M17 pistols from the Army. Danny, do you know anything about that? Did you by chance? I mean, I don't expect you would, Danny, but.
Well, isn't that the same thing as a 320?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did see a little bit on it. Are those factory reconditioned or mill serps or something?
Yeah, yes. They're actually apparently. See, and this is where so Glock had a huge. SIG. SIG is the new Glock, like ours is the new black. SIG had a huge recall because they had a bunch of issues with drop tests and people hitting their guns with hammers. And so one of the arguments, I guess, that was made with these, with the problems, like our heavier trigger bows and all that is that gun essentially may have been really designed to have a thumb safety. And that's why the Army didn't have any of those issues. So I thought it was interesting. SIG is saying that, well, the Army wanted some changes done. And so they wanted the controls refinished because the original M17 that went to the Army had FDE baby poop control surfaces, and then they switched to black. And literally, if you watch the video, I think it's Phil Strader. he's like, well, instead of sending the guns to us and refinishing the parts and us sending them back to them, it was just easier to just take them all back in, send them all new guns with the changes that they want. And part of me is just like, yeah, I doubt that the freaking change is really just a color. I'm just like, I want to know what the deal is here.
No, probably you're probably right. It's probably not just a color change, but you know how PR is. I mean, and the truth is, honestly, let's just play devil's advocate and say it is just a color change. It's still a hell of a lot easier to. It's a military contract. It's still a hell of a lot easier just to produce a bunch of guns and ship them and trade them out than it is to bring the original ones back, change the parts, and then send them back to them.
I have heard from grumblings from people that are in that they call, and I don't know why they call it this, but we'll call this gun that SIG has the Gen 1. And I have to call it that because I don't know what else to call it. And apparently the gun that the Army has now with the black controls is a Gen 3. Now, these are not official, but for some reason they're calling it a Gen 3. And I have heard from inside the Army, not officially from anybody that I trust, that the safeties work better. Like apparently they had some issues with guns showing up dead, and missing some springs, and there are some mechanical changes to these guns. Now, it's like you and I were talking about this off Pod Freeze. It's like eventually we're going to have a PD show up at the range with 320s.
Yeah,
I mean, it's inevitable. Like just how like a bunch of PDs switch to the Beretta 92s, and like we're all kind of obligated to have Beretta 92s. Well, we're all eventually going to be obligated to have 320s. Because, eventually it's just going to be the gun. It's going to be the Glock 17, and then it's going to be the Glock or the SIG 320. And I'm just like, well, maybe we should pick up one of these, just because we need them anyway. But It's like, well, if they're going to be different than the guns people could show up with, I wouldn't want to have an early gun. I want to have whatever gun they've got. Not for collectability, for compatibility, for whatever experience they're having manipulating a gun, running drills or something. You know what I mean? So we're not going to get one, but it was just kind of like I thought because Freeze is really doing a good job here, like holding back, but he's a huge SIG fanboy. And he was, and he's like, oh shit. I mean, Freeze's position is it's got SIG on it. It's great. It's good to go.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm trying to play nice.
No, you got to be authentic. You got to be you. That's fine. You're like a fat kid, a fat kid and a piece of cake. It's good. That's what you like.
Hey, you know what? I'm like a fat kid in dodgeball. First out.
All I know is after Freeze shot that rotation, my stock at Icy Hot went up.
Man, I tell you what, and it actually captured it on video. The first shot out of that Rhodesian A5, it was like, damn. I mean, and I did not have a good grip on that gun because, it's a 12 gauge, whatever.
It's pretty heavy, too. It's like you don't expect it to be a thumper.
I did not expect. Shit, we shot that gun, 5-6 years ago when we got it?
At least 4, if not 5 years ago.
Yeah. And I went to shoot that. And it was like, oh, shit. And it was like, damn.
Yeah, I was watching you and I'm filming it and I'm literally the first thing came out. I'm like, Jesus, dude, hold on to the gun. And then off film, I fired it. I was like, oh, fuck.
If you go back, if you go back and watch that video on the first shot, not only does Freeze have to regroup, but Marky, you flinched.
I may have.
But it was like I had to totally re-choke up on that gun because like the next 5 shots, was fine, but that first shot was not pretty. It was not even pretty. But
And
you
it
know
was
what,
even
though?
birdshot. It was like,
Yeah, I know
come on,
shit.
birdshot.
But you know what? That's real world video. I mean, if we were one of these high speed, low drag, Mall Ninja websites, we would have edited that video and not shown that first shot. But hey, we're not that way.
I did
Yeah.
like
No, we're not.
I did like the slow mo of that. That was very nice. That was very nice.
Well, if you look at the slow mo of that video, if you'll notice on the barrel there's a rack number or a stenciled Rhodesian Army and a serial number in electric pencil that's on that barrel. If you watch the slow mo video, you will notice that section of barrel goes all the way back and reappears through the ejection port, because that's a long recoiling action gun, which means the entire barrel recoils like an M2 Browning machine gun, and that's where that heavy recoil is coming from. It's a thumper.
Oh man, it is. It is indeed.
Yeah. So I tell you what, it's actually.
But
it's
look,
a good thing we didn't shoot buck in it, because I would actually be worried we'd break that forend.
well,
It's warped.
and that's the thing with the warped forend. I would really not want to overshoot that gun. Not that I'm afraid of shooting it, but there are problems with it. That forend is warped, and we showed that on the video.
Yeah.
And I really wouldn't want to shoot heavy deer slugs or anything like that through it. I just, it would probably be okay, but I wouldn't want to risk it.
Well, let me know if you do, because I'm going to double down with my stock broker.
In the Icy Hot or Tiger Bomb, maybe.
Yeah.
Ben Gay. this video brought to you by Ben Gay.
Yeah. No shit. I mean,
that is a thumper. Hey,
yeah,
speaking of minor thumpers, I actually shot the 300 PRC barrel from J Sip and Sons yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's got the suppressor on it, and it's not like shooting a 338 Lapua, but it's definitely up there in like Win Mag territory. It's a little bit of a thumper.
Really?
And it's like, this isn't, I was like, well, it's basically, it's a caliber that lives between 300 Win Mag and 338 that can basically almost substitute for 338 for, probably the first 2/3, I would assume, of the range. And, I was like, well, I'm not as enamored with this in reality as I was in theory. So, actually, because I was trying to zero it, and I have 4 shots into a half MOA group, and the 5th shot, it's really not the 5th shot. I think it's the first shot. There's a flinch, and I opened up the 5-shot group to like 1.4 MOA.
Oh.
And it was like, oh fuck. Well, I'll publish it. So I'm sure J Sip and Sons isn't going to be happy, but that's real. Again, that's me, not the gun. But it was like,
yeah.
Oh well. Yeah. We keep it real on the internet.
Yeah, that's and you know what? We do keep it real, and sometimes the real is not pretty.
So Danny, because I know you probably follow this, did you hear the latest on Jeffrey Epstein?
Something about the prison tape is missing, or so. I seen something.
So all the cameras weren't working, and all these issues with Epstein and his death, it's all screwed up. So because they claimed that he had tried a suicide previous justification for the second suicide, right? That's kind of like, well, you know what? He tried it once. That's why they made some changes a few weeks before. Well, now apparently there is supposed to be a tape when he was under surveillance of the first suicide attempt, or maybe, I don't know if it's inside the cell or outside the cell, or them pulling him out of the cell, but apparently that tape is now missing. And you just like, this is like third world crazy town.
Man, I'll tell you what, as much as you like to think, as much as you would like to sit there and think, this is all conspiracy theory bullshit, it's not what it seems. man, the more shit that comes out, it's like, dude, it's hard to sit there and say that this was not. God, it's hard for me to even say it out loud, but
I don't know what the standard was in that prison, but in some of the jails I've been in, not as a resident, but in some of the jails that I've been in, anyone on suicide watch is issued the paper gown, so you can't do things like that. They're issued the paper sheets. Everything is biodegradable to where they can't tie anything to choke themselves. That I don't get that one.
Yeah, the jail he was in, if I remember, it's not the regular state prison. It's a federal holding facility in New York that I think basically services the their federal their circuit courts and their federal courts up there, like in the region. So
and they don't have a suicide watch prevention detail.
Well, no,
or unit?
they apparently he apparently was on suicide watch.
Not a very good one.
Yeah, they weren't watching.
What though? Here's the thing: we don't know if they were watching because the video's gone.
Good point.
I mean, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist person myself, because I kind of subscribe to the Donald Rumsfeld school of thought when it comes to this thing. Never attribute to malfeasance what could just as easily be explained away by stupidity. But, it's kind of like the FBI investigation into Trump and the FISA court thing. It's like, 17 different things are screwed up, and 17 different times it screws up against Trump, not for Trump. And it's like, dude, come on. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, these don't. As our attorney general is prone to say, these don't hang together well.
And I'm also wondering, along with the 17 issues that were raised, did that inspector general sugarcoat a lot of things that could have had more enhancement, but didn't? Do you think he brought everything to light?
Here's the thing. So you got to realize there's a couple. The inspector general is like an internal ombudsman for the for the FBI. I believe he's an IG for the FBI, not even technically an IG for the Department of Justice, but I could be wrong. He could be, maybe the IG covers the entire Department of Justice, but I have a hard time believing that because I know how government bureaucracies work. And so he's limited by, he's not a prosecutorial person. He doesn't have subpoena power. He doesn't have, he basically has to operate within the building. You know what I mean? It's like a Inspector General of John 1911. Like, we hired a guy to kind of make sure that, there's checks and balances and we're all making fair, decisions here. Like, the right people are getting raises because they earned it. And it's, it's all this internal shit. It's not like this guy, this guy's report. He wasn't adversarial in his investigative process. He wasn't trying to catch people in lies. He basically was, I'm going to ask you a question. Here's the answer. Okay. He wrote down the answer. It's not a real.
No bias.
Yeah. Unless someone sits there and goes, of course, unless he's like that colonel, they're all standing. What's the colonel in the
Oliver
movie?
North?
No, the one in Jack Nicholson, on the stand and starts mouthing off.
A few good men.
Yeah, unless some dude sits there and mouths off to the IG and says, you need me on that wall, there's no prosecution here. It's just a dog and pony show, kind of, so I don't know. We'll see. Look, do I think, because there's supposedly a criminal investigation going on, do I think that, like, I don't know, Strzok and Page and Clapper and Comey and Brennan, former director of national intelligence, former director of director CIA and directors of the FBI are going to go to jail. Hell no. I'm not going to jail. But you know what? I'll say this. Bill Barr, the Attorney General, his behavior is starting to make me think that maybe he might actually prosecute somebody. Maybe. And I'm saying maybe. Not he will. I'm saying he might prosecute somebody.
You know, though, I think he will, because everything reverts back from the impeachment last night all the way back to the first FISA application. There seems to be a lot of wrongdoings. And I think after they voted for the impeachment last night, Barr is going to get someone for something. I just feel that.
Well, you know what? You bring up a good point, because if you think about it, now we're in the third year, or I guess the fourth year of Trump's presidency. And, since he's been elected, it's been nothing but FBI investing, or Mueller and all this stuff. And that drug on for 2 years. And then it wasn't, the report comes out, and it wasn't a couple months later, bam, now we're into a new investigation and they're going to impeach. It's like it's nonstop. And, I think politically, I think you're correct. I think the politics of this are to the point that no one's really buying that this is real. I mean, it's like I didn't watch any of the impeachment stuff or in the House yesterday, because it's just a chance for politicians to get on C-SPAN to make campaign tapes for their campaign commercials.
Oh, it was already a foregone conclusion. Why watch it?
Yeah, and so
exactly.
There were other, but there'll always be some interesting highlights. And then I guess Nancy Pelosi, I was in bed. Nancy Pelosi came out and was like, "Yeah, we have the articles of impeachment, but I don't know if I'm going to refer them to the Senate or not quite yet."
Well,
and it's
you know why? One of the main reasons is, you watch, the new Democrat talking point will be supposedly when a president is under impeachment and before it goes to the Senate and he gets exonerated or guilty or whatever, the Democrats are pushing that he loses his power of pardon.
What?
That is not the case, though. But according to how the Democrats interpret that, they feel that, hey, we will prolong this because we feel Trump can't pardon anyone. That's not how it reads, but that's their interpretation, and watch for that to be their bullet point.
Well, this is why, by the way, folks, this is why you have been brought on as our chief political correspondent from our Chicago office. I had not heard this theory yet. That's interesting. When I first heard it this morning when I got up, the first thing that came to mind was Rashida Tlaib. And she's like, "We're going to impeach the MNFer." And I'm like, well, you got what you wanted. I hope you're happy. So they did technically impeach him. Now let's all move on.
Well, and along with his, well, we'll say the Democrats wanting him to lose the power of pardon, the Democrats will also start comparing Trump to the Republicans, calling him their savior, a god, or this or that, and they will try to demean that also, the Democrats will. They're going to have their bullet points of Trump is the savior. He can't pardon anybody. And I think the other one will be their phony polls.
Yeah, the polls are, you can tell the polls are pretty manipulated, but what you can see happening here is, and again, like this is showing up on Twitter, and it's kind of an example of why people need to be real careful where they get their news from. At least they have to at least question their sources. So like for the current talking point is that everybody's using is impeaching Trump just guarantees he gets reelected in 2020. And see, the thing is, that's only a school of thought that's existed for about 72 hours. Because when the Vindman stuff was coming out, and then before Vindman, Colonel Vindman, there was this, whistleblower from the CIA and NSC staff, I think, and they were coming out and saying that Trump did all this stuff. Trump took a huge hit in the polls. And then because they were promising, like, we're going to release all this, and you're going to have the records of the calls, and we're going to show you what he did. And then it's turned out that this is nothing. And the numbers are back up. So I wonder if Nancy Pelosi's looking at some of this and she's like, this sucks, because the politics of it suck now.
Well, I think what Pelosi is looking at is the said Democrats, which you had just mentioned, have to go back to their districts, and the whole while under Trump is impeachment, but not yet heard in the Senate, it's a talking point for those Democrats for their reelection. Hey, he's under impeachment. He's under impeachment. And they will try to inform I hate to say it, the uneducated, because people will see impeachment, no exoneration. Well, he still must be doing something wrong, and the people will fall for that.
Well, you're right, because the main motivation for impeaching Trump wasn't removing him. It was never going to happen. I mean, there's always a chance that, like, you know, somebody could show up and be like, you know, say something crazy and, you know, you got me, you know, you dastardly kids, I would have gotten away with it. But, you know, and like a bunch of Republicans vote to remove him. But the reality is this is just a ploy to dog him down and drag him to pull his poll numbers down to maybe help a Democratic candidate in November. That's all. This is all about 2020. You're right, Danny.
Oh,
It's buying time.
But I honestly don't think this is working out the way they are hoping it works out. I mean, we'll see what happens over the course of the next 11 months, but I really don't think this whole impeachment thing is going to work out in the favor that they think it is.
Well, that's why Nancy Pelosi is holding it up, because it doesn't look like it's, you know, it is working out in their favor, and so she's pumping the brakes to give herself some options for the next couple of days. Mm-hmm. So maybe they're working on this impeachment theory and the whatever theory. Well, so I don't know.
I think what the Democrats want to try to do is bring Mitch McConnell to his knees by making him give concessions of what the Democrats want in the hearing. Well, McConnell was on television this morning, and he basically said, no, how about we give the Democrats in the Senate and what they want for the hearing the same rights of what they let the Republicans have witnesses, Trump's attorneys, or anybody, which was nothing.
Well, you know, Freeze and I were talking about this off pod, and so people have to remember Mitch McConnell. He has two jobs. His first job is to shepherd and get Republican bills through the Senate and confirmations through the Senate. Okay, so they become laws. His second job is to maintain Republican control of the Senate. He is never, ever, ever going to allow the impeachment trial in the Senate to turn into like a 700 witness freak show that goes on for months, and all these people saying all this crazy shit that could possibly, something may stick, which may look bad, because they're all going to be making campaign commercials. My prediction was that he would try to limit this to about 10 working days, which would be 2 weeks. And it looks like, last I heard, is that's what, you know, that's probably where he'll end up going. But the politics of it also, he you know, the Senate, and McConnell's aware of this, and this is what Nancy Pelosi and all them are trying to leverage against him, is they want to have the Senate to kind of feel like they're above partisan politics, and they're not going to engage in, you know, this very slanted behavior. But the thing is, if the Democrats have gone so off the reservation with what they've done in the House, that it gives him political cover to basically say this isn't real, and we may not even have a trial. Like I didn't know he had the option to not have a trial. Like maybe they just do a straight up and down vote without even having a trial with the Chief Justice. I heard that may be a possibility, but I'm not a scholar on the Senate. And, you know, if he's got the cover to do it, he will.
Oh, I fully agree with that. I personally think McConnell and the Republican Senate will not afford the Democrat House anything to make their case better, because if you look at all of the news reports, it's not downplaying. It's just the Republicans from the Senate are saying this is a nothing burger. It's a nothing burger, and we're not going to open up an investigation that you shammed to try to get Trump on something that you couldn't get. We're not going to do your fact finding for you. We're not going to do your investigation for you. No, you gave us a nothing burger. McConnell's going to send it back to the House and say, "Here, have a bite."
Well,
yeah. Well,
I heard. I don't remember who said this, but I heard a couple of days ago. It was one of the Democrats in the House was trying to say that when it goes to the Senate, they wanted the Senate to only limit, if they have a trial, that they could only interview the same. Basically, they wanted it set up the way the House set it up, to where the Republicans couldn't introduce anyone. It was basically you could only question the witnesses that the Democrats brought up. I mean, basically, they wanted a mirror image of the House, you know, of what they did in the House. And everyone,
whatever congressman said that knows he's full of shit.
Well,
he just
sure.
said that to say it on TV.
Yeah, and everyone kind of laughed at him.
Senate, the Senate and the House. I mean, like, the average person probably doesn't really understand this. The Senate and the House, they can be as different as, you know, as
night and day.
You know, as hot dog and burgers. I mean, like, it's just a completely different animal, and they can do how they want, how they operate. It's different. They literally, the Senate can look at the House and go, "Fuck you," and the horse you rode in on.
Yes.
That's perfectly legal under the Constitution.
And that is what McConnell is going to let happen because of the railroad job that the House did.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so let me work some guns into this. So, because I wanna ask this. So, if we step back from where we at with politics, you know, in 2019, and you know, we've got the crazy impeachment stuff, and like they're spying on Carter Page and all the illegal wiretapping and just all this other stuff that's going on. And then you've got, you know, the people forming militias in Virginia. You've got, I don't know if you heard this, Freeze, but apparently there's a bill proposed in Pennsylvania. They're basically going to outlaw 80% lowers or 80% builds.
You know what? I heard that, but see, when I read that yesterday or the day before, my whole thing is, how's that even possible? That's like saying we're going to make Phillips head screwdrivers illegal. How can you make an 80% lower illegal?
Yeah, because there's no such thing as an 80% lower, because it's a hunk of metal.
Exactly.
You know, the idea being it's either a firearm or it's not. So you're outlawing. Yeah.
Well, all right. I could tell you guys how they can do it. It's very simple. In Virginia, you have a Democrat governor. You have a Democrat House, but only a 3.
You mean Coon Man? You mean Coon Man governor? That's not my name for him, by the way. Well, that is a quote from his medical school yearbook.
Anyway, in the Democrat-controlled House of Virginia, you only have a 3-vote plurality. I tongue-tied this morning. And in the Democrat-controlled Senate, you only have a 1-vote majority of the Democrats. Now,
okay, I get what you're saying, Danny, but here's my thing. If let's just say the powers to be in the great state of Virginia says 80% lowers are illegal. Well John1911.com starts selling 60% lowers that are not illegal. That's the thing. When you're selling fucking metal, that's not serialized. It's just a hunk of metal. I mean,
because here's what we have to make this statement, because so this is where you have to be a lawyer, okay? Because we're using a phrase 80% lower, because that's a colloquialism, that's a slang term in reference to this genre. But legally, there's no such thing as a percentage.
exactly.
Like, there's no definition of a percentage. It's either a firearm or it's not a firearm.
Yes.
And so, unless the law's written with percentages in it and they're able to somehow define these, which would be difficult, but they probably could write a law. Here's the thing. You can write a law that says anything that's retarded that won't stand up to the constitutional scrutiny, a la posse comitatus. Posse comitatus is on the books and has never been invoked, has never been tested, because supposedly there's a law that says that the president or the federal government, you can't use federal troops to somehow enforce the law for law enforcement activities inside the U.S. And it's like, well, I got news for you, baby. Yes, you can. And that law, there has never been brought up before a court, because it would get struck down. It would be ruled unconstitutional.
Hey, Marky, I have a fact question for you. In Virginia, when the Democrats took the House and the Senate, do you know who the main sponsor was that bankrolled their campaigns?
I heard it's Bloomberg.
It is Bloomberg. It was and is Bloomberg and his anti-gun agenda. That's where they got their money from.
Well, the thing is, Virginia. Look, I'm from there. Okay, I know. This is not unfamiliar ground. Virginia historically has always been Democratic. West Virginia historically has always been Democratic. So let's just keep that in mind first of all. And then the second thing is, the demographics of Virginia have been changing for 30 years. And primarily, it's happening in Northern Virginia, NOVA, Nova, as people will call it. And in the southern part of Virginia, we used to call that occupied Virginia, because all these people that you watch on TV, like Bill Burr and Stroke and Page and, Comey and all these people, they live in one of two places. Almost none of them live in, quote, Washington, D.C., because Washington, D.C. is not that big, and it's expensive, and there's some bad parts of town. Most people that work in Washington either live in Northern Virginia or they live in Maryland. And as a matter of fact, I think the federal government's the largest employer in the state of Maryland. So, you get all these people from all over the world they tend to be government bureaucrat types that, they like to work in government. That's the kind of career they want to have. And so they end up in Northern Virginia. And it's so populated, it's really not any different than like Westminster County in, outside of New York City. New York City dominates the politics of the entire state because of all the people that are down there.
Same with Chicago and Illinois. Same thing.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know long term how it's going to go for Virginia.
Well, why did 92 sheriffs designate their counties as gun sanctuaries? There must be a reason. 92 counties now in Virginia are considered gun sanctuaries.
See,
yeah,
see, as your whole argument about the state being Democrat, and I'm not refuting that at all. But obviously the powers to be are predominantly Democrat in Virginia right now. But apparently the counties are not following politics. And the truth is, the next vote we have in 2020, we'll see where the state goes.
Yeah, the thing is, a Democrat today, or a Republican today is a Democrat 30 years ago.
True. I'm not disagreeing with that. But but the thing is, with the powers to be in the state of Virginia, they're obviously leaning toward the socialist communist agenda that the Democrats in Congress are right now. But But when the good people of Virginia go to the polling stations next November, are they going to vote for Trump or not? Being that 92 counties are Second Amendment sanctuaries, I have to say that they're probably going to lean towards Trump opposed to leaning towards Warren or Biden or Sanders or whatever swinging dick the Democrats put in charge of their.
The thing is that, okay, I mean, you're saying the same thing, but just from the other side of the argument. It doesn't matter. It's 92 counties. It matters the population, and the population look, if you live in Virginia, the county that runs the state is Fairfax County. And see, nobody knows that here, but that's where all these fucking people. I mean, that's like where the government's at. Like, I mean, there's so many people. I'll bet you. I don't even know this, but I would guess. I bet you the 5 most populous counties in Northern Virginia probably have more population in total than, I would say, at least 30 counties in Southern Virginia, maybe more. It's a big deal. So I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. I mean, Virginia's not as far gone as New York, but
if you piss off enough people, I agree with Freeze. They'll turn out to vote, and not only for Trump. There's going to be a lot of coattail effect on that.
Well, sure. That's why the Republicans got wiped out in the House in 2018, because there was not Trump at top of the ticket to carry the day, and so the Republicans got wiped out. I heard McCarthy in the House, the minority leader of Republicans. I heard him yesterday. He had claimed that more than 30 Democrats that are in Trump-leaning districts. There's 31 Democrats that are in Trump-leaning districts in the House that relatively are new Democrats, or that Trump won their district. He's claiming more than 30 of them are in danger of losing their seat. Of course, his job is to try to make the argument the Republicans can take the House. So, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, and that's interesting. It really is. Do I think the Republicans are going to take the House in November? I personally don't feel they will. I think they'll keep the Senate, and I think they'll pick up seats in the House, but I don't think they'll actually win the House. And look, I mean, we're a year out from it. Things could change over the course of the next year, but I mean, the way I feel right now, I think the Republicans will pick up seats in the House. I don't think they'll win it. I think they will probably pick up seats in the Senate and keep the Senate. But that's my opinion. Take that for what it's worth, which means nothing.
Well, when Trump first won, they didn't count on the silent majority coming out, which they did. Now you still have that same silent majority, but now you're also getting a lot of vocal majority that are pissed off over a bunch of this gun confiscation, calling out the National Guard, not only in Virginia, but wherever you're living. I think the vast majority of people are going to turn out more so next election. And I'll disagree with you. I'm not going to bet you a steak dinner. I lost on that one, but I heard that snicker. But I think the Republicans will gain control of the House because they only have to flip 11 seats out of 31.
That's a bold statement.
They have to flip 11. Hold on, Danny. What do you mean they have to flip 11 out of 31?
All right, because the
Democratic majority is what, plus
224?
Is it?
It's 224.
So was it 430
to 200?
Okay. Oh, so it's only 24 seats,
right?
Oh, I thought it was more than that. Well, to give a historical analysis to this, when Barack Obama lost the House to the Tea Party movement, and the Republicans took the House from Obama. They took 60 seats in that election. It was a wipeout. It was probably that's why it was the biggest gain since like 1930 something or whatever it was. So, did I lose everybody?
No, we're just listening.
So if it's only 24 seats or 25 seats, that could be doable. I hadn't really followed it. I wasn't down on the numbers. I mean, look, the real problem is there, and nobody talks about it in media, but the real battles that are taking on politically are happening. The Republican Party is in a fight between the Bill Kristols and Jeb Bushes and Mitt Romneys of the world versus the Donald Trumps, because those people would be perfectly happy with having the Democrats basically run everything just so they can criticize it. And the Democratic Party is having a battle between the Joe Bidens and the, I'm trying to think of an old time John Murtha, because he's dead, Democrat, and the communists, it's like Bernie and Elizabeth Warren and AOC and all these people. So because both parties are not happy, they're like, for example, the Republicans told all their constituents that they were going to impeach Barack Obama for all this illegal shit that he did, and they were going to repeal Obamacare. They never impeached Barack Obama, and they never repealed Obamacare. Okay, the Democrats have been telling their members for 3 years that we're gonna get rid of Trump, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and they're not doing it, and they know they're not going to do it, and so the Democrats are getting pissed off, and they're getting tired of voting for Joe Biden's, and they want to vote for like a real communist that supposedly will do what they say, or Bernie Sanders because he's so authentic. Because we all know that like Joe Biden's not authentic. We all know Republican Party. We all know that Mitt Romney's not authentic. I mean, so that's the real battle here. It's which party's going to go, which party's going to try to bring down the Republic, and which party's going to fiddle while the other one does it. I mean, that's the politics of the day. So but to bring it home to what we were talking about, I was just kind of curious. Is all the gun stuff that they're talking about, is that going to motivate people? Like, is there going to be a huge backlash? Could the Republicans take back the House? I mean, are they overplaying their hand? Is Ralph Northam in Virginia, like, are there Democrats privately saying, "You stupid cuck, why are you doing this now? Because now you're motivating everybody to vote against us in November."
Well, I'm sure they
guns.
are. Pelosi made those Democrats, those 31 Democrats in the districts that Trump carried, walk the plank, because if it gets to the Senate, Trump's going to get off anyway. And now those 31 Democrats have to come back to Republican-controlled districts of where they won their election midterm and explained how they did not do the will of their district. And that's going to be a hard sell for some of them.
Did you hear the theory about Tulsi Gabbard because she voted present and didn't vote for impeachment? Did you hear the theory?
No, I did not.
There's a conspiracy theory now working its way through both sides of the aisle. And it doesn't really have any real purchase, but the theory is that she voted present, so she doesn't have to vote against Trump. So Trump can drop Pence and run a unifying ticket with Trump, Tulsi Gabbard, a unifying ticket as Trump at the top of the ticket, and she's the new vice president. And it's like, that is so crackpot crazy, but where that comes from, and a lot of people don't know this or don't remember it, is when Trump had not picked his vice presidential running mate yet, he gave Tulsi Gabbard a hard look. He thought about asking her to run with him.
Wow. Oh, I stand corrected. There are 228 House Democrats, but what was it, 2 or 3 of them switched to the Republicans. So that's why I believe they have to flip 11 or 12 seats.
Yeah, like Justin Amash, he went independent. He left the Republican Party, and then this one guy supposedly is going to go and become a Republican. He's leaving the Democratic Party. So I don't know.
So out of 31 House districts, I'll go high. Let's say you have to flip half of them. It's not an impossible task.
Well, okay. Looking at it by numbers, it's not an impossible task. You're right. However, okay, but we're talking about House members here and in their districts, and most representatives in the House are pretty solid. Okay, think about trying to get Maxine Waters. I mean, look, Maxine Waters is batshit fucking crazy to everyone in the goddamn country except people in her district. Try to get the people in her district not to vote for her. Same with Pelosi. I mean, you see what I mean by that? I mean, 15 seats isn't hard, but yet it is hard in the House.
If you remember who Cindy Sheehan was, the woman that they trotted around that basically stalked Bush during the Iraq War.
Yeah,
once they were done with her, they dropped her like a hot potato because like when they got to be in control, she was no longer relevant to the war or politics because they had the House or they had the White House, so they dropped her, and so she got all pissed off and she went out to California and primaried Nancy Pelosi. We all can obviously see how that went. You like some of these, you can't get these people out of there.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So, hey, Danny, let me ask you something. You're up there in the northern part of the Midwest. Do you follow hockey at all?
That's an understatement. Yes, I do. And
okay,
fact,
well,
go ahead.
I just heard a great hockey thing. It says, in hockey terms, President Trump just received his in-person hearing with the Department of Player Safety, but has not been suspended. And you have to be a hockey fan to appreciate the humor in that.
Or the oxymoron of
it. And I know Marky's going like, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
I have no idea what the hell you're even talking about.
Let's
you know what? And we're going to have to wrap this one up.
That was very good, Freeze. I can tell. I have two.
That wraps up
Go ahead.
Episode 155 of the John 1911 podcast. If you want to see these stories, links, or pictures of anything we discussed, you can go to our website, john1911.com. That's JOHN1911.com. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good day.
Bye.
See you later.
Barf. Ugh, hockey.